Hey there. Now I've not been about for a bit. Ignore me. I've lost my mojo, man. I have just absolutely lost my mojo. I have absolutely no desire to do anything. Now I've had this particular news article that I'm going to do now up on my computer for days. And every night when I go to bed, I just sleep the computer because I can't be asked to do videos. But I'm going to force myself into it. I'm sick of seeing the fucker. So I'm going to read this thing out now, this article that I saw the other day. And I'll warn you up front, I'm going to have opinions on it because this is what my channel's about. And also, I am going to swear, but also I'm not going to read, I'm not just going to read it out verbatim because I won't be able to. If you've been here before, you know what I'm like. Now, this news article is entitled BBC Still Has a Problem with Untouchable Stars, report says. Yeah, this is a story by Anita Singh. Don't we all, darling? Let's do it. Sorry. But, it's not racism by pointing out Anita Singh. Like I do go to the toilet sometimes and go, tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Anita B. It's just something I do. So, word association. Sorry, Anita. If you find it offensive, it's not meant that way at all. Anyways, I'm fucking apologising myself. I ain't even got onto these bastards. Lovely big picture of Hugh Edwards at the top of the page. The BBC continues to reward untouchable stars by letting their bad behaviour go unpunished, according to a report. And according to a report, they're guilty of housing baddies. That's nutshell job. Let's go deeper. An independent review commissioned in the wake of the Hugh Edwards scandal found some presenters are so problematic that they are man-marked by BBC managers who act as a buffer between them and more junior staff. It's all ongoing. They're not historic allegations. This is now, right? Present day. We heard examples of well-known names not being held to account for poor behaviour, the report said. A small number of people can become untouchable in the eyes of colleagues. Well, we all know this. Like Hugh Edwards, they are known for getting away with poor behaviour and their reputation spreads beyond their immediate team. We heard about a minority of people who behave unacceptably and whose behaviour is not addressed and impacts employees and freelancers. These people work in both on and off-air roles, dotted across the organisation in different functions and departments. So kind of the fabric of the place, yeah. They're often in positions where power could be abused, so probably is being. Even though they are small in number, their behaviour creates large ripples which negatively impact the BBC's culture and external reputation. Not looking good, is it? The BBC states it has zero tolerance for unacceptable behaviour. Blown out of the water, mate, by everything we've just read. You can't have a zero tolerance and all this shit be going on right now. Bullshit. But the words do not align with the actual experience of some people working with or for the corporation. The corporation does not have a toxic culture overall, the workplace review found, because there are good people that work fucking everywhere. It's just that the higher up you go, the more debauched you get. Sorry, Kerry-Ann, this isn't about kiddie fiddling. This is about general workaday misbehaviour. Could also include kiddie fiddling. And we don't know that this top sports presenter who, a girl under 10 on multiple occasions, historically, doesn't work for the BBC. We don't know that because wherever he is, he's still working. even though he raped a little kid. Maybe he's currently working his way out of the company before it all kicks off in the fucking courts. Maybe he's just putting himself in early retirement. We don't know. Yeah, we all know it's him. Come on. However, Samir Shah, the BBC's chairman, admitted there are still places where powerful individuals on and off screen can abuse that power to make life for their colleagues unbearable. Tim Davie, the BBC Director General, investigate him and all, mate. Like, literally, you don't get high up in the BBC unless you've got your finger up a boy's nose. Oh, Kerry Ann, stop it. Promised immediate action to improve the culture and warned that a line in the sand had been drawn. Tim Davie, bullshit. I'm sorry. Bullshit. Promised immediate action. How many fucking decades? And let's not forget, on the front of the BBC, there's a fucking statue above the door of a little kiddie giving a fully grown adult a fucking blowjob. There was an absolute fucking idiot who tried to knock it down with a hammer, but good on that man for actually drawing attention to it. But that needs to stand until they're fucking brought to justice, mate, because the whole fucking corporation is built around... Remember that Adam, oh God, can't remember his last name, that dude who went on to rape dogs in Australia and rape and torture dogs in Australia. He worked for the BBC. The amount of people when it's like, oh yeah, this pedo, oh, he worked at the BBC. Well, oh, fuck off. Told you this wouldn't be a direct reading, didn't I? But the report, conducted by Change Associates, a management consultancy, said that staff felt a degree of cynicism towards the ability of leaders and managers to enact the change needed. Basically, we don't trust you. You've been like this since Jimmy Savile was prolific. Not since Jimmy Savile was found out, since Jimmy Savile was allowed to get away with it being employed by you. It's been going on probably, most likely, long since then. Since that fucking statue of a pedo being sucked off by a small child was put above that doorway. Whole thing. The review surveyed 2,500 BBC employees and freelancers about their experiences. It mentions no names, but was commissioned in the wake of the scandal over Edwards, the BBC's highest paid news presenter, until his conviction for making indecent images of children. And he was allowed by the BBC to take young boys he was buggering around his fucking workplace and give them a little tour. And everybody at the BBC knew that that was what he was fucking doing. But until he got brought down by the courts, it was allowed. And like I say, if this top sports presenter who raped that little girl is in the BBC, he is being allowed to get away with it as well. Nothing will change with the BBC. The whole fucking corporation is built on it. And when you're famous, it's like, mate, you can't say no about him, mate. He brings us in bare money. Fuck off, shut up. Like, sack the intern first. Since then, Greg Wallace has stepped away from hosting the BBC's MasterChef after historical complaints about his workplace behaviour came to light, which was not rape and it was not paedophilia. But he got hauled he was thrown under the bus. Jermaine Genus, 100% thrown under the bus, in my personal opinion, was sacked last November after he admitted sending inappropriate messages to female colleagues. Oh, Bulgar, like literally, lynch him, hang him up, mate, because he was having it was a major tart. It's like there is worse than that going on every fucking day. But chuck him under the bus, make it look like the BBC are doing something which the BBC will never do, as we're seeing. In January, the BBC apologised to staff who felt they could not raise concerns about Russell Brand during his time as a presenter for Radio 2 and Radio 6 Music. Now, I should imagine that this contradicts the whole Russell Brand narrative on a different scale, you know, like where people were coming forward. Probably miss out that people couldn't raise concerns. Maybe they had a word, but nah, you can't do it, mate. He's making bare dollar at the minute. I'm sorry, though, but I have read this before and found this amusing. I do apologise. Allegations including Brand exposed himself in the studio, throwing objects in anger, which that's just a douche move, mate. And this is my favourite. And having sex with a competition winner in a disabled toilet. Now, I'm sorry. She's a competition. She won a big prize there. Look, literally, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, literally, as long as there's nobody disabled that needs to get into the bang who you like, mate. This is not what the BBC are famous for. The BBC are famous for kiddie fiddlers and obnoxious twats. And yeah, Russell Brand is an obnoxious twat, and he was even worse when the BBC were paying him. And when you're at the BBC, it's like, mate, as long as you're bringing the money in, you could do what you like. The Workplace Review said that most presenters were seen as good to work with, and many of those who spoke to the authors were embarrassed and ashamed to be associated with people who feature in the press for their behavioural misdemeanours. But it also found untouchables behind the camera or microphone, stating the perception was that senior management would turn a blind eye to poor behaviours when productions were award-winning or attracting large audiences. Responding to the Workplace Review findings, Mr. Shah said, in the end, it's quite simple. If you are a person who is prepared to abuse power or punch down or behave badly, there is no place for you at the BBC. No, the BBC is exactly the place for you. But literally, Mr. Shah, bring it. Bring it. Purge the fuckers. I damn well dare you, mate. It can't be done. It's their whole ethos. It's their whole fucking way of being. Wrong uns. Not all of them, obviously. Not everybody who works for the BBC is nonce, but some of them are. The review acknowledged a generational divide over what is considered acceptable workplace behaviour, with the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements raising awareness of how attitudes and language that used to be tolerated are no longer so. Personally, I think it's just got to ridiculous now. Ridiculous. It's gone too far. But some things, you know, it's time to hang it up. You know what I mean? Generation Z has entered the workplace with different norms and expectations, it said. There is but the Generation Z thinks that people can identify as cats. So, you know what I mean? It's great for the BBC, mate. It's like, you know what I mean? They'll all just, all the pedos will just start saying, I'm a woman now. You can't say no because I'm a woman. I'm stunning, I'm brave. There is a cohort of people in the BBC who have grown up together in the last 20, 30 years and reached senior positions, the powerful ones. They share stories of what used to be accepted: throwing furniture, drinking on the premises, and rightly comment on how far things have come. Right, drinking on the premises, do not see a problem with it. Never have. It's like, if you can, unless you're operating machinery or fucking up your work, I don't see the problem. Like, you know, like in all of the films, people have a bottle of whiskey in the desk, you know, the lawyers and the high-ups and whatever. Sometimes you're in a job that's so stressful that occasionally a little nip, you know, like little pocket flask, you know, that kind of thing. Throwing furniture is not now, nor should ever have been, acceptable behaviour. Apparently, I heard once somebody complain about, or now King, hashtag not mine, threw a book at him because he was pissed off about something. Just put that in there because I can't stand the guy. But if society is changing its norms, do they understand what is and is not acceptable today? They, plus many employees and freelancers, want some clearer rules. Don't be a douche. Don't put your finger up a little kid's bum. Don't slap people. Don't fucking chuck things at people. Don't have sex in the disabled toilets. I'm not advocating that, right? I am not advocating that. I appreciate that I did just sound like I was advocating that. I don't think that that's like sackable offence myself. She was up for it. She got an extra prize, didn't she? From the fans' perspective. Unless that's not what she'd won. You know, she'd like a little old lady who won a mobility scooter. That would be fucking hilarious. If she was actually in the disabled toilet because she was disabled. I'm so sorry. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but sometimes you got to. One anonymous participant said, I'd love to see some clear do's and don'ts in terms of what is banter and what is downright cruel or offensive. Should be common humanity, common decency to treat people with respect. Banter is banter, right? If you are going too far with your banter and you're actually offending somebody, people should have the right, no matter how fucking rich and famous you are, to tell you that you are being a spectacular douche canoe and to shut the fuck up. I would, but then, yeah, I'd never be employed by the BBC. Sued by him, maybe. Another said, we're in a workplace where the workforce can span across 50 years or more, and the tolerance of acceptability is so different across the generations. I get it that you were allowed to do certain things years ago that you're not allowed to do now, and a lot of it I disagree with. You know, like a lot of the Greg Wallace thing. It's like, oh, come on. And I swear that the BBC do this occasionally to give the illusion of change. It's a common thing in British society, British culture. Lies, propaganda, bullshit from above. Pissing on us and telling us it's raining. In a speech to staff at London Broadcasting House, Mr. Shah warned, if you think you're too big a star or too important to live by the values of this organisation, then not only are you wrong, but we will find you out. And again, if this they found out, they knew about Hugh Edwards, they knew about Jimmy fucking Savile, and did fuck all. And like I say, if this top sports presenter works for the BBC, they know about him as well and are still fucking paying him. It's bullshit. Flumph. Just a fucking smoke screen. Oh, look at the BBC, we're doing this. No, you're not. You're harbouring fucking criminals and wrong-uns. But he also issued a warning to staff who criticised BBC management publicly, which he called reverse bullying, where staff believe it's okay to use social media platforms to humiliate or mock managers for making tough decisions. There's no place for you either in the BBC. The report advised it should be unacceptable for individuals to publicly criticise the organisation based on personal opinions or the views of small groups, like the people who fucking hate paedophiles, e.g. if a programme is discontinued, or to leak stories about the BBC to the wider media. Don't tell us. You know, it's like if you work for Buckingham Palace, what happens in the palace stays in the palace. You sign NDAs. You are not allowed to fucking say no. Oh, presenters who have publicly called out the BBC's decision to cancel a programme include Victoria Derbyshire, who was angry when her award-winning current affairs show was cancelled in 2020. Staff were also critical of the BBC's cuts to local radio. Victoria Derbyshire, I think she's a goodie, isn't she? I don't follow her, but I've seen her on some stuff, and she seems to really have her head screwed on. I don't think she's a baddie, but the fact that they're putting her name in there specifically tells me she's pissed him off. Like, literally, is this a Jill Dando fucking thing? What the fuck's going on with Let's Rubbish Victoria Derbyshire? Just her and Hugh Edwards. And Hugh Edwards is obviously, you can't not, because they say that they launched it because of Hugh Edwards. Despite the fact that while Hugh Edwards was at the BBC and he was taking young boys on tours round the BBC, young men, despite being married, different young men, like, literally, it was when he got put in court. So I'm waiting to see what happens when the top sports presenter goes through court. Literally, if they come out and they say, oh, we had no idea. This was a year ago that this man was fucking had his house searched on allegations of twacking this little girl, and top sports presenter, and has signed as paid for gagging orders. So nobody knows who this person is, but everybody knows who he is. We all know who he is. You know, the one that really, I'm proud to be of service, that used to work in kids' TV historically. Yeah. Bullshit, utter bullshit. Now I'm calling, like I say, as we mentioned, Tim Davey douche. I'm sorry, Greg Wallace think he's a douche. Jermaine Janus, like, literally, what the fuck? That is the wrong person to chuck under a bus, and they didn't chuck Hugh Edwards under the bus. They kept Hugh Edwards. He kept his job, despite the fact that the BBC knew he was under investigation. And this, I'm not saying that this top sports presenter works for the BBC, but if he does, they've known for a year that he twacked a baby girl, a little girl under 10. They know that he has that behind him. Like, literally, well, the sword of Damocles hanging over his head. And literally, so they can say whatever they like publicly, of like, oh yes, we're cracking down on this, we're big, great, oh, the BBC, there's no room for any of those shenanigans in the BBC. I reiterate, that is exactly what the BBC is built on. The BBC are wrong-uns. I've said it again. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've said it countless fucking times, mate. They prove it again and again and again and again. The whole, like, the celebrity culture, like, literally, it doesn't matter if you're on the BBC or ITV. You know, Philip Schofield got away with it too. And he won't be the only one on there. If you get famous and you're making the money, you are allowed to do whatever the fuck you want to do. And I don't doubt for a minute that it's a case of, you know, how they do it, like, you know, get you involved, mate. And it's like, you do as we say. Otherwise, we've got this on you. Do you know what I mean? And if you do what we say, we'll get loads of shiny pennies. Loads of shiny pennies. Hugh Edwards, top paid newsman. Not going to name the top paid sports presenter because gagging orders, you know, probably. I mentioned his name, come on. Anyways, I'm going off to have a bag of crisps and I shall speak to you soon. If you've made it to the end, I owe you a bevy. Please feel free to leave comments. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Cannot promise when I'm going to make videos or what I'm going to make videos on, but I can promise you that they'll always come from the heart. Yeah, thank you for coming. Please come back and never forget that I love you all. Bye.